Siberia, known as a land of snow, ice, and vast wilderness, holds more than just its frozen beauty. Beneath its icy surface, some truly bizarre and terrifying discoveries have been unearthed. Here are 20 of the strangest and most chilling things recently found in Siberia's frozen expanse. Number 20. 3,000-year-old brain surgery. Back along in the ancient past, people experimented with some rather dubious methods of medical intervention. One of the techniques they tried out is known as trepanation. This is essentially where the skull was drilled into and holes were made, sometimes for medical reasons, perhaps in an attempt to perform some sort of brain surgery, but also for ritual reasons. Likely as not, the patient would die fairly shortly after such a procedure, either on account of the reason for the surgery in the first place or from some kind of postoperative inflammation and infection. Skulls have been found in various places that have shown evidence of this sort of practice, but one such skull was unearthed at a Bronze Age burial ground in Siberia, which has given scientists very interesting insights into the practice and the techniques that were used. It seems they were able to determine that the person who performed the surgery had the support of an assistant, as they could reconstruct some of the incisions, and there seemed to be two separate people at work making holes in the skull. How wonderful is that? Less so for the individual, who is believed to have died shortly after this no doubt painful and terrifying operation, I would imagine. Well, that's all we have from the chilly offerings of the Siberian tundra for today. Number 19. Mystery of Siberia's monster mummy. Although all the tabloids and internet chat types seem to think this mummified corpse is somehow mysterious, there are plenty of sensible science people who seem to think it was most likely a fox, a dog, a wolverine, or even an otter, so it's less of a crazy finding than many people would have us believe. What a surprise! This is the so-called monster mummy that was found inside a Russian diamond mine back in 2016. It seems the unfortunate animal had been preserved by the freezing conditions of the permafrost in a layer of sandy sediment at a diamond mine, which was located about 1,160 miles to the northwest of a place in Russia that I cannot pronounce. Now, a place as chilly and remote as this is not exactly the most thrilling or dynamic location on Earth, so when miners find something weird, well, it seems that everyone and their grandmother has something to say about it. I mean, nothing else has ever happened, so this is the news of the century. And because this is like free entertainment, they all had a few ideas to weigh in on. Some locals believe they had found a new species of dinosaur. Right, just to point out that this is not a fossil, and unlike the diamonds that formed in the region during the Mesozoic era about 252 to 66 million years ago, this mummified animal has likely been there considerably less time. Otherwise, it too would more than likely be a rock. Number 18. The woolly mammoth. Now, I suppose if you were to imagine a creature that might have been frozen in the ice, it could well be the old woolly mammoth. After all, these are animals that we probably associate most often with the Ice Age, so it kind of makes sense. That didn't stop the people of a village near the Laptev Sea in Siberia from being just a little bit surprised when they discovered the mummified corpse of a woolly mammoth right there in the middle of their own neighborhood. In 2010, in a village near the Laptev Sea in Siberia, the local people found the mummified body of a woolly mammoth that had died around 39,000 years ago. The cold and dry conditions had preserved the animal's body pretty well, all things considered. An archaeologist testified that the woolly mammoth had likely been approximately 6 to 8 years old when it died and weighed around 5 tons, give or take. The woolly mammoth's face was quite distinct even after tens of thousands of years, and it even still had some of the hair on its body. The idea of bringing back long-extinct species is actually something that seems to excite a whole lot of people, and there are, in fact, a whole bunch of scientists who are dedicated to doing exactly that. The incredible advancements in understanding genes and genetic sequencing that have happened in recent years have made what once seemed insanely impossible now only a matter of time. The woolly mammoth is up there at the top of the resurrection list. The creature is especially likely to find its way back to life because of how much of the mammoth's genetics are actually shared with the modern-day Asian elephant. So when you add this to the remarkably well-preserved remains of woolly mammoths that have been discovered, the science of rebuilding these Ice Age giants, well, we're almost there. And you never know, you could open up your curtains one morning to see a surprise woolly mammoth wander by. I mean, it could happen, right? Number 17. Mystery of Siberia's craters. All of this flying around in helicopters, whizzing drones, and not to mention Google Earth has made a whole lot of things a lot more noticeable than they ever were before when we were just stuck looking at stuff from the surface of the planet. So there seems to be a lot more weird and mysterious massive things appearing all over the show than we've ever seen before. But the question is, are there more weird things, or were they just always there and we just couldn't see them? Here is one such oddity for your eyeballs. A massive crater that seems to have appeared as if out of nowhere right in the Arctic tundra of Siberia. As a Russian television crew flew over the area, they spotted what looked to be the site of a massive explosion. There were huge blocks of ice and earth just scattered all around the landscape, all seeming to have blasted outwards from the center of the colossal crater. So what could cause such a thing? Is this the work of an errant missile or perhaps some secret nefarious weapons testing out in the middle of nowhere? Well, maybe, but the official explanation, or as close to one as could be given that nobody actually knows, is that it's most likely caused by the explosion of methane and carbon dioxide gases that become trapped in the heaps of ice and dirt. However, they don't really know that for sure. They also say that it might happen more often as the climate continues to warm up. But then again, they don't really know. So it's all extremely helpful then, isn't it? Number 16. The doorway to the underworld. If a place is known as the doorway to the underworld, then you can probably establish that it's not an especially pleasant sort of place. But that's just one of the names by which this crater is known. Another term often used in association with this colossal hole in the Earth's surface is megaslump. How nice. It turns out that the doorway to the underworld is getting bigger and deeper every year, which figures really given how many humans seem to be heading that way. But I digress. This crater actually began to form after massive deforestation in the area destabilized the soil and altered the climate of the region. Yes, if you remove all the trees from a space, it does cause the area to suffer. In this case, the ground no longer had the cooling effect of the trees to protect the permafrost, so that all began to melt during the warmer months of the year, and this in turn would cause the soil itself to begin to collapse. Then, to add insult to injury, the melting of the permafrost released carbon dioxide and methane into the atmosphere, which then managed to increase the warming of the area, making more of the permafrost melt and thus causing further collapse over and over. The effects of the deforestation just keep on increasing the same problem and making a bigger and bigger hole in the surface of the Earth. Just imagine if it keeps on growing, where it could end up. Now it's time for today's topic. In January 2025, a Russian geological survey team conducting ice core sampling deep in the Siberian tundra stumbled upon a discovery that left them in stunned silence. Buried beneath nearly 40 feet of ancient permafrost near the remote Yamal Peninsula was the perfectly preserved body of a colossal reptilian creature unlike anything in recorded history. Measuring over 70 feet from snout to tail, its armored hide was covered in jagged, crocodile-like scales, yet its proportions and facial structure bore no resemblance to any known crocodilian or dinosaur. Carbon dating of surrounding ice suggested the creature had been entombed for at least 120,000 years, predating the last ice age. Its massive frame was so well preserved that the ridges on its back still glistened under the sub-zero sun, as if it had been frozen only yesterday. Paleobiologists brought in from Moscow refused to confirm whether it could be a new prehistoric species, though leaked satellite photos hinted at a possible connection to ancient cryptid legends told by indigenous Nenets people. For now, the Russian Academy of Sciences has sealed off the site, citing safety concerns. But locals whisper a darker reason. Some scientists believe thawing it could awaken something that should have remained buried forever. Number 15. The Ice Princess of Siberia. This is a 2,500-year-old ice maiden. She was discovered on some mountains in Siberia and is believed to have belonged to a culture which was part of a group of Scythian tribes known to have inhabited the area. The Scythians were a group of ancient nomadic people who lived in the region of the Eurasian steppes between the 9th and 1st centuries BCE. They were first thought to have originated in the area of southern Siberia, and they eventually moved outwards until their territories reached the Carpathian Mountains to the west and as far as China to the east. These people were amongst the first to use horses in warfare, and they developed bows that were especially constructed to be used from a mounted position. The Ice Maiden was found carefully embalmed and laid on her side. She had a shaved head and wore a wig and a tall hat. Her skin had tattoos that depicted various animal shapes, and she was also dressed in a woolen skirt that had red and white stripes. Her coffin was specially built so that it could even fit her abnormally large hat. Number 14. Cave lion cub in the permafrost. Here's another sad baby who's frozen in the ice, and this time we have the discovery of a perfectly preserved cave lion cub that was discovered in the permafrost of Siberia. Cave lions were prehistoric big cats that lived in Eurasia a really long time ago. They were closely related to modern lions but then adapted to colder climates, and scientists have been able to see that they had thick fur and robust bodies that would have helped them to withstand the chilly temperatures in the region. These predators hunted large herbivores like mammoths and bison. Cave lion remains like this cub, and some extremely well-preserved cave paintings offer insights into their appearance and behavior, even though they became extinct around 10,000 years ago, possibly due to climate change and human hunting. Well, no surprise there, then. Number 13. 3,500-year-old bear. This brown bear had been laid undisturbed in the ice of eastern Siberia for about 3,500 years until it was discovered by reindeer herders. And instead of leaving the poor old long-dead creature to rest in peace, the scientists chopped it up and poked around inside of it. This is a complete body of a dead brown bear. It's apparently unique. Nobody has ever found a whole dead bear that had been there for 3.5 thousand years before, so these scientists wanted to look inside and see if the bear looks like what other bears look like inside today. The bear, it would appear, had been 5.09 feet tall, and weighed 172 pounds. The extreme cold had preserved the soft tissues as well as the fur of the bear, and even some of the last things that it had been eating before its untimely demise. There were plants and bird feathers preserved along with a big animal. The scientists did a full investigation of the bear, and in this they included examining its brain, its internal organs, and doing a whole bunch of testing on cellular, microbiological, virological, and other ological genetic things. And the dissection was fairly grim and extremely graphic, as you are likely seeing. It gave the scientists a lot of new information with which to understand the anatomy of the bear and the things that affected its life 3,500 years ago. Number 12. Ancient puppy found in Siberia. For our next frozen corpse of the day, we found a puppy. I know it's terrible, but it's been in the ice around about 18,000 years, so maybe it's a lot less sad. Probably not. I mean, it is still a puppy after all. Anyways, the discovery of this long-deceased canine creature in the permafrost of Siberia and Russia had researchers puzzled as they tried to determine if the animal had been a dog or a wolf. They believed that the animal had been about 2 months old when it died, but the frozen ground had preserved the body so well that, despite the 18,000 years that had passed, the canine still had its nose, its fur, and its teeth all intact, which is really rather remarkable. The scientists involved in the discovery were keen to examine whether the finding could actually prove to be an evolutionary link between modern dogs and wolves. They used radiocarbon dating to figure out the age of the puppy and determine just how long it had been there. They were also able to establish that it was a male. The DNA sequencing seemed to show that the creature was possibly a common ancestor of both the wolf and the dog, rather than one or the other. This sort of stuff makes scientists very excited, even if looking at dead puppies makes most people really rather sad. Number 11. Arctic zombie viruses. As well as finding bacteria that comes back to life after being frozen in the ice for a bazillion years, it turns out that scientists have also discovered a whole range of viruses in there as well. Well, that's great. That's exactly what we all need. In samples of ice taken from the Tibetan Plateau in China, some scientists have found a bunch of viruses that are nearly 15,000 years old. They believe that most of them are not at all like anything we've ever seen and cataloged before. This discovery, the ice cores that were examined, had been taken in 2015, and they were taken at high altitudes of 22,000 feet above sea level. This ice core contained layers and layers and layers of ice that accumulate annually and trap things that happen to be in the atmosphere at the time. That meant that all sorts of schmutz, including viruses and bacteria and junk, were in there, and inside of these samples, they found 33 differently genetically coded viruses. Of all these, only 4 had ever been identified before. They think at least 28 of them have been discovered now. They seem to have all of the characteristics of viruses that thrive in especially harsh conditions. I mean, great. That's just great news. Number 10. 32,000-year-old plant brought back to life. In 2012, researchers in Russia achieved a remarkable thing by growing plants from an ancient fruit that was preserved in permafrost by squirrels over 30,000 years ago. Yes, everything that I just said is true. The discovery was made along the banks of a river in Siberia, a location best known for uncovering mammoth body pieces. The team from the Institute of Cell Biophysics had successfully cultivated plants of Silene something or other, a member of the campion family, from the ancient fruit. Their success made this the oldest plant material that's ever been revived. The researchers uncovered around 70 squirrel hibernation burrows that contained the ancient fruit. These burrows were buried deep within the frozen soil and had remained undisturbed for tens of thousands of years. It's all totally wild, but just imagine what else they may be able to revive in the future. Number 9. Ice Age woolly rhinoceros. The mummified bodies of woolly rhinoceroses have been discovered in the permafrost. This has given scientists a remarkable insight into the extinct species of rhino that lived from about 350,000 years ago. The woolly rhinoceros had thick, long hair and a large hump on its back, and these animals are believed to have been around until the end of the last ice age. The closest relative of these rhinos is the Sumatran rhinoceros, but these are amongst some of the most endangered animals on the planet now. Again, much like the old Siberian unicorn, scientists are looking at what can be learned from the mummified and fossilized remains of the woolly rhino to establish if they can save the almost extinct modern rhinoceros. Let's just hope that they have a breakthrough soon because time is running out. Oh, and one clue is that they believe the woolly rhinoceros may have gone extinct as a result of human hunting habits. This might be a clue, but who could possibly even say? Number 8. 40,000-year-old horse. Next up, we have yet another poor dead creature from thousands of years ago. It is the mausoleum theme of the day. Huzzah! This is the discovery back in 2018 of the mummified remains of a young foal. It was found in the melting permafrost alongside a crater in eastern Siberia. The foal was discovered at a depth of about 328 feet, and it seemed that the baby creature had tumbled into a kind of natural trap and then likely drowned when it was only 2 months old. They had managed to recover the entire body in a complete and undamaged state. It was approximately 39 inches tall at the shoulder, and was so well preserved that even the tiniest of hairs inside of its nostrils had lasted for the last 40,000 years. This species of horse no longer exists today but is a close relative of the equines that we have in the present era. The researchers were able to test samples of the tissue, the hair, and even the contents of the creature's intestines. Number 7. Severed wolf's head. When a mammoth tusk hunter was out exploring the banks of a river in Siberia, they came across something quite unexpected. A perfectly preserved head of a prehistoric wolf. This was actually rather exciting, as it would be the first partial carcass of a steppe wolf that had ever been discovered. These types of wolves are extinct and are different from modern-day wolves, so they don't seem to be direct ancestors of any kind of contemporary wolf. This unfortunate creature seemed to have been relieved of its head some 32,000 years ago, but that wolf's bad luck is the good fortune of today's science nerds. The severed head has given us really valuable opportunities to examine something not only kind of disgusting but also full of fascinating information about life on Earth tens of thousands of years ago. The head was so well preserved that it had fur and tissues still intact. It had perfectly preserved fangs, and even the wolf's snout was right where it should be. The main thing that is immediately apparent about this particular type of finding is its size. The wolf's head was 15.7 inches long, which is considerably bigger than any modern wolf's noggin. On average, they're only about 10 inches in length. Number 6. Ancient doll and mythical animal. The discovery of a doll in a grave from the Bronze Age in Siberia seems to be the very oldest toy that has ever been unearthed. The doll-like figure was discovered along with a kind of mythical animal-shaped creature that was made from a horn. The find was revealed in the extremely remote region of Siberia in a grave from 4,500 years ago, and although there have been wooden dolls found in Egypt that seem to have come from a similar time period, those were also engraved with symbols of fertility and reproduction, so they don't appear to be toys in the same way that these Siberian objects were, if you get what I mean. What's particularly fascinating is that these toys suggest a deep cultural value placed on childhood and play, even in ancient societies. Researchers believe that the toys may have been used not only for entertainment but also as tools to teach children important skills or cultural traditions. The craftsmanship of the objects, despite their simplicity, indicates that even ordinary families took the time to create meaningful items for their children. This challenges the assumption that such intricate or symbolic objects were reserved only for the elite in ancient times. The parts of the toys that have survived apparently only represent a small bit of the entire toy. It's believed that these would have been made of organic material that had not survived the thousands of years of being buried. The burial was of a normal child and not a member of the elite, so it is thought that these objects show that ordinary people had access to more intricate and carefully crafted objects, and not just the wealthy. These small and simple items have become the oldest toy collection known in the entire world. Number 5. Ancient bacteria. Back in 2005, a group of scientists were out digging in the Arctic permafrost in Alaska when they happened upon something that surprised the heck out of them. They had found ancient bacteria that had been frozen in the ice for around 32,000 years, and the thing that startled them the most was not that it existed but that as it thawed out, the bacteria actually came back to life. No, this is not the beginning of a horror movie, although it would be a fairly scary one. This is genuinely what happened. What's even more unsettling is that some of these ancient microbes could potentially carry traits that modern bacteria no longer have, making them unpredictable and possibly resistant to current antibiotics. Scientists have also speculated that as climate change accelerates the melting of permafrost, more of these ancient organisms could be released into the environment, posing unknown risks to ecosystems and human health. On the flip side, studying these ancient bacteria could provide valuable insights into the evolution of life and how organisms adapt to extreme conditions. Still, the idea of ancient pathogens reawakening after tens of thousands of years is enough to make anyone a little uneasy. So not only do we need to be concerned about all the alive bacteria that's all over everything and everywhere, apparently now it also seems possible there's a whole lot of nasty stuff that's just waiting to become defrosted and have a go at killing all of us. And that leaves the question, what kind of immunity do you reckon that we may have for bacteria that humans have not encountered in a bazillion years? It's kind of terrifying to think, isn't it? Number 4. Denisova Cave. The Denisova Cave is located in the mountains of Siberia and Russia. It's a site of massive significance and was discovered in the 1970s. It caught everyone's attention in 2010 when scientists finally announced the discovery of a previously unknown human species, known as the Denisovans, from a finger bone that was found inside of a cave. This ancient human species, named after the cave itself, shared genetic material with both Neanderthals and modern humans. What's even more fascinating is that traces of Denisovan DNA are still present in some modern human populations, particularly in people from Southeast Asia and Oceania, hinting at ancient interbreeding events. The cave has also yielded a molar tooth and other bone fragments, which have provided further insights into the physical characteristics and genetic makeup of this mysterious species. Additionally, researchers have found evidence of tool use and ornaments, suggesting that the Denisovans were not only skilled but also capable of symbolic thought. These discoveries have raised intriguing questions about how they interacted with other human species and what role they played in the broader story of human evolution. The discovery would revolutionize our understanding of human evolution and migration. As well as all of the super interesting finger bone stuff, the cave has also been the source of loads of other archaeological artifacts and fossils spanning tens of thousands of years. The cave's unique conditions, and its relatively stable microclimate and protection from the elements, have helped the unusual preservation of organic materials. It's a pretty special sort of place that continues to offer up new and revealing bits of ancient history today. Number 3. Ancient Stone Bracelet. This is the world's oldest stone bracelet, believed to be 70,000 years old. That's rather wild now, isn't it? This is a piece of jewelry that was discovered back in 2008 in the Denisova cave in Siberia. It was unearthed in sediment that appeared to have been older than anyone had ever previously believed. That meant that the bracelet was made by Paleolithic people between 65,000 and 70,000 years ago. The people are known to be an extinct group of early humans called the Denisovans. What makes this discovery even more remarkable is the level of craftsmanship involved, suggesting that the Denisovans possessed advanced skills far beyond what was previously thought for their time. The bracelet was polished to a smooth finish, and microscopic analysis revealed that it may have been worn on special occasions rather than for everyday use. Some researchers believe it could have held symbolic or ceremonial significance, possibly indicating the wearer's status or role within their community. The precision of the drilling, likely achieved with tools made of bone or stone, has left scientists amazed at the technological capabilities of these ancient humans. They are actually a species that is closely related but still distinct from Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. This is especially interesting because it is the first evidence that these early humans had technologies with which to create such objects. The object showed signs that it was drilled and carved into its shape, and up until this particular find, the dating of these sorts of techniques only went back to the Neolithic era, which was round about 12,000 years ago. Number 2. Dead alien. Well, you can make of this next one whatever you will, and I'm sure that you will make some nonsense of it. So here you go. Back in 2011, there was a video doing the rounds which was called Dead Alien Found in UFO Hotspot in Russia. Seems totally legit, I know. It depicted 2 Russian guys and a so-called dead alien in a snow-covered field in Siberia. The alien is exactly what we would expect it to be. It's about 3 feet tall, it has a big old head, long skinny arms and legs, and so this is definitely not in any way suspicious at all and was no doubt thoroughly examined and authenticated. Some UFO enthusiasts were quick to claim it as undeniable proof of extraterrestrial life, while skeptics dismissed it as an elaborate hoax. Others pointed out that the alien bore an uncanny resemblance to props used in low-budget sci-fi films, fueling speculation that it was staged for attention. The snowy setting and remote location only added to the mystique, making it the perfect backdrop for a viral sensation. Meanwhile, conspiracy theorists argued that the government might have been involved in covering up the truth, adding yet another layer of intrigue to the story. Well, no, it wasn't. This is the internet after all. But naturally, the video went viral, and people like us are still showing it to this day. Never mind the extremely janky production in which the 2 men apparently just discovered the alien, nor the ridiculously rubbery appearance of the body that looks exactly like all of the cartoon depictions of made-up extraterrestrials ever since the 1950s comic book obsession with aliens really kicked off. It seems all totally real now, doesn't it? Go on and have all your opinions about it in the comments section down below. I know you want to. Number 1. Clay head. Next up, we have a weird clay head. This mysterious-looking object was found in a burial site in Siberia all the way back in 1968 and has been dated to be about 2,100 years ago. But its exact purpose and origin have continued to elude archaeologists who have investigated it. The clay head is believed to be a death mask, but nobody's exactly sure of whom or indeed why it was made. Some researchers speculate that it may have been used in rituals or ceremonies, possibly to honor the dead or to ward off evil spirits. Others suggest it could have been a symbolic representation of a deity or an important figure in the community. The craftsmanship of the mask, despite its age, shows a surprising level of detail, hinting at the advanced skills of the people who created it. Additionally, traces of pigments found on the surface suggest it may have been painted, adding another layer of mystery to its purpose. The death mask is believed to have originated from the Bronze Age culture, who were Scythian people who lived in the southwestern part of Siberia between the 8th and 2nd centuries BCE. They mostly raised cattle and were known for their metalworking skills, and their burial mounds are found all across the region. It's now understood that these sorts of clay heads are from the last part of a culture in the 2nd and 1st centuries BCE, and new technologies have allowed scientists to look inside of the objects and make brand new discoveries. They found somewhat incongruously, the skull of a sheep buried inside the clay depiction of a human head. And it's kind of weird. Let me know in the comments which of these strange things you found the most fascinating and which ones seemed completely absurd. I'd love to hear all your thoughts. Don't forget to check out the other cool stuff popping up on the screen, and I'll catch you next time.